Okay, almost there, guys. Sorry. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might happen to be here watching into what we call the Fight for Your Business Mastermind sessions. Let me get rid of 1 second here. All right. Mute that. There we go. All right. So, welcome to the Fight for Your Business Mastermind sessions. We do these sessions every single weekday, Monday through Friday, typically from about 11 a.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Time. That's New York time for those of you outside the U.S. Starting a little bit later today, but we're going to give you a really fun and exciting day today. We're going to be talking all about your avatar, your ideal customer profile, your 80-20 rule client, whatever you want to call it, your market, the people that you need to be marketing to, speaking to, because spending our time talking to everybody is never, ever, ever going to be profitable. We've got to talk to the people that can and will potentially buy from us. So we've got to figure out who they are. And we've talked very, very little about what we're looking for as far as the not just the demographics, but the psychographics, the sociographics, the needs, the wants, the fears, the buying behaviors, all of those things that go into understanding your avatar well enough that you can communicate with them efficiently and effectively. We've grazed upon the topic. We've glanced off of it. We've talked about you need to know those things, but we've never really gotten into what are some of those things? How do I collect them? And what do I do with them once I've got them? Why is this information that I need? So we're certainly going to talk about that today. By the way, just so you're aware, we are live on Zoom as well. If you go into the description for this video, you'll see the link. You are more than welcome to join us over there where you can input, you can be involved, you can, say hello, you can ask your questions, whatever the case might be. Or if you have other input you want to share, you can join there and do that as well. I do offer a 30-minute consultation. If after this session you feel like you need some more help, I would be honored to volunteer 30 minutes of my time to donate that to you to invest that in you and your future and your business. Again, there's a link down below in the description. You can go ahead and get that and schedule a call whenever it's convenient for you. Last but not least, before we really get into the topic itself, you know the drill, right? I think every YouTube video out there tells you the same four things, right? I need you to do four things for me. I'm going to dedicate myself to being here for an hour and a half, 2 hours every single weekday, 10 hours a week, give or take. I'm going to ask you to devote 30 seconds. That's all I need, 30 seconds. What I need you to do, if you find value in this video, well, number one, click the subscribe button. I think it's probably like right down here somewhere. Click the subscribe button so that you know that you get all of our videos and all of our trainings and all of the other ancillary stuff that we put out there for you, all of the different benefits and features. Want to make sure that you're getting that as a member. Number two is three parts: like, comment, share. Again, 30 seconds total time. Subscribe, like, comment, share. That's it. Like the video, comment on the video, and then share the video. Now, guys, when you share the video, make sure that you're sharing it with your own commentary, right? Tell people why they should watch or what they should be watching for. What's the benefit that they're going to get out of this session? How's it going to help them? That's how we start. So if you guys will help me there, then I will continue to help you here at no cost every single weekday and do whatever I can to help you grow your business more quickly, more efficiently, more effectively than you ever could before. So with that, let's jump right into the question that I asked in the title of this video, which is simply, do you need more leads? Do you need better leads? Do you need better clients? Those are three things that are basically accomplished in the exact same way. But if you're struggling with not enough leads or the wrong leads, or the leads that you're getting are fine, they're creating sales, but not the good ones, not the kind of sales that you're looking for, right? You get the kind of low end buyer, the one-off buyer, not the guy that's going to be way up here buying over and over and over from you again and again and again. Not the person who's going to be a long-term member of your organization or vendor to your business or whatever the case might be. In order to get there, in order to be able to speak to the right people the right way, we've got to make sure that we're talking to the right people, right? You can't expect to get better clients when you're talking to lesser leads. I mean, it's just logic, right? That doesn't make any sense. If you want better customers, you got to have better leads. If you want better leads, you better be talking to a better group of people, a more distinct, a more intentional group of people. We talked about this very briefly yesterday, and I talked to you about the fact that, I worked in corporate radio for years all around the US. And one of the things that used to frustrate the hell out of me was the fact that I'd have agencies call me and tell me that they're looking for this particular demographic of adults, men and women, 25 to 54. That's the demographic they're searching for. Now, okay, you can tell me that, but let's think about this for a second. What does a 25-year-old woman and a 54-year-old man have in common? And besides their checkbooks? I wouldn't talk to them both the same way. Why on earth would I want a demographic that shows I can get you all of these people? Because now your message is going to be perfect for one or the other, or neither, but never both. It can't be, because you're going for too wide a spectrum, too wide a reach. It doesn't make sense. So what I loved was when an ad agency would come to me and say, listen, Jay, here's what we're looking for. We need women 25 to 34. They need to be above average income. They need to be, parents. They need, the things that they knew about the audience that they were trying to attract. Those were the important pieces, because that's going to provide exceptional quality when it comes time for me to make sure that they're getting leads driven to their business or to the client business that they're working with. To come in and be lazy and just say, hey, give me show me your demographics for 25 to 54, it shows me that you have no idea what you're talking about. When that's all you give me, it tells me you don't know your audience. You don't know your client's audience. That's a problem. You've got to give them more. So what more do we have to give them? Well, anything and everything that we can identify about our client. So I want to take you guys through this journey a little bit, but I'm hoping to do it with some volunteers and actually, run through the process of identifying some of those ideal customers and what it is that we need to know about them in order to be able to communicate with them effectively. And, again, yesterday I mentioned grandmothers. My grandmother had a special place in my heart. And, she passed a couple of years ago, but, she's somebody that I know when I spoke to her, I spoke in a very different way than when I speak to you guys, or when I'm speaking to clients, or when I'm speaking to my kids, or, out at a bar, or whatever the case might be, right? I spoke to her significantly differently. Why? Because I respected the hell out of her. And I knew that there were some things that she would appreciate and others that she couldn't care less about. Some things that she would understand clearly and others that she just wouldn't be able to wrap her mind around. And so, rather than causing conflict, I wanted to be as, simple as I possibly could with her. Towards the end, her mind started to wander a little bit and things like that. At 96 years old, it'll happen. But I changed my conversations. I changed my tone. I changed my personality a little bit. Maybe not personality, but the way that I interacted was different. And to me, that's why I want you guys to imagine grandmothers, because I can only imagine, I can't be the only one. I think it's got to be incredibly common. I think everybody develops a secondary language for talking with grandma, right? I just believe that. And we need to understand that it's not about our comfort zone. It's about the listeners. I may be comfortable dropping 4-letter bombs all over the place, and I am. That doesn't bother me. I'm fine with that. I wouldn't do it in front of my grandmother, right? So I'm going to change for her. I'm going to get into her comfort zone, not mine. My comfort zone's irrelevant. I'm the speaker. The only comfort zone you need to worry about is your client or your prospect. This is why we need to be so absolutely intentional about who our prospect is. I don't want you to have 6 different languages. I want you to have one that resonates with everybody you talk to. And we can't do that if our demographic is this huge, that 25 to 54-year-old adults or 25 plus adults. It's too big. I can't customize the message. It's going to be incredibly generic. And you and I both know what you get when you put out generic content. You get generic results. And typically, they're not good, right? They're not the ones that you're looking for. They're not, you're not getting enough leads. You're not getting the right leads. And the ones that are converting are not the ones that you want to convert. So how do we do it? First things first, I think everybody needs a checklist. And yeah, I've got one available. Yeah, here's your first sales pitch of the day. If you're interested in getting my workbook with 8 chapters and 160 some odd questions that you can ask about your clients, about your customers, about your ideal customer profile, I'd love to sell that to you. I'd love you to have it. I'm not going to charge you the $199 that you would buy it for if you went on my website, but instead I'm going to offer it to you at half price for $99. Just shoot me a message, do it on Instagram, do it on LinkedIn, do it on Twitter, do it on Facebook, do it on YouTube, whatever. Shoot me an email, j@coachjhandler.com, or just go to one of those social media sites. My profile is always the same. It's @jhandler, just like my name in the corner there, JAYHANDLER, no space, obviously. Come find me, shoot me a message, tell me, hey, Jay, can I get that workbook? And I will absolutely send you over a link and a coupon code so that you can get it for a little bit less than half price at $99, $100 off. All right. That's where you should start, is having a list. And I've got the list already built for you. It's already ready to go. All you got to do is just start filling it out. But what kind of things are we looking for? Well, again, let's keep in mind that what we're looking at is the customer journey, right? What happens to the customer or to the prospect as they travel along the path? What's the first thing that happens? Well, they get introduced to us in some way, shape, or form, whether that's a cold, blind LinkedIn message that you sent, which don't typically work too well, or maybe it's advertising. Maybe you're doing ads on Google or Facebook or radio or whatever. Or maybe they're seeing you here for the first time. However you're engaging with them for that first time, that's the beginning. That's that TOF, that top of funnel, right? They've just now become part of your funnel. Now, they're going to spill right out the top if we don't get them into something that makes some sense to them very, very quickly, right? Introducing me to you does us no good if you don't need what I have, or if I don't have what you need, right? Doesn't do us a whole lot of good. Okay, we made a contact. That's great. But how many of those do you really stay in touch with long-term? They don't buy from you, and they don't become referral sources. So let's not worry about them, right? How do we get people into the funnel and then falling through the funnel? We don't want them popping back out. How do we do that? Well, we do that the same way that fishermen know when they've got a bite, right? They feel the tug. They know that somebody's there. They know that something's touching. Now, they got to give a little bit more line. They can't just start yanking and reeling them in. They're going to give a little bit more line so that that fish can take the hook fully in its mouth. And then we're in control. Then that fish is going to follow our path. And the path is pretty straight because it's on a line, right? They're going to take it right back to the boat eventually. We got to do the same thing. So when somebody meets you, that's great. They're nibbling at the bait, but they haven't bitten yet. Asking them to become your client at this point is ridiculous. They don't know you. They don't like you. They don't trust you yet. All they're doing is nibbling at the bait to see if it's safe. What do? We have to provide value. That's the first step in the funnel. I mean, after getting them to the funnel, right? The first actual step once they touch the funnel is add value. Give them something that says, oh, okay, You know what? I have an opportunity here to learn something, to get something for free, to get something that's going to help me. This is somebody who has some information or some strategy or some products that I need. And once they chomp down on that hook, now we know they're coming through our funnel. Some fish fight harder than others. So we have to know when to let out some line to let them tire themselves out and when to start reeling to bring them closer to the boat. We need to know when it's time to take the net and bring it into the water to pull out that fish. I'm not even a fisherman. I don't know why I'm using this analogy, but I love it. So I'm going to keep doing it. Same is true with
This
your
is work. This is really trying to type as fast as I possibly can, but
say,
I replay it. It's
say that again,
wonderful.
Kristen. Say that again. You're breaking up really badly.
Oh man, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I think the fishing analogy is working for me. This is going through steps is exactly the doctor ordered.
Well, listen, my goal is always to make these things as relatable as possible, make them as simple as possible. We could talk about this at a very high level, and I'd confuse the hell out of most of the people that ever watched it. It doesn't do us any good. There's no value there. In order for me to deliver value, I need to break it down into context that you understand, to make it as simple as possible from the very beginning. Not because everybody needs me to dumb it down, but because some people need me to bring it down to a certain level, right? So knowing that my audience doesn't necessarily know everything that they should about business, otherwise they wouldn't be watching this type of video, I need to make sure that I give them something that they can latch on to quickly. And here it is. It's analogy. Analogies paint pictures. Those pictures allow people to retain information. You can be bombarded with information all day long, but until I put together the picture in your mind, until I help you paint that picture to some extent, it's not set. You're not going to remember it. Or the likelihood of remembering it is much lower anyway. So, yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. But that's another lesson, right? We really, really need to paint in pictures. We need to show what we do visually. Not everybody's a visual learner, right? But we have to teach visually because the human brain works on pictures, doesn't it? I've used this example before. I'll do it again, but I'm going to say a word. When that word, when you hear it, I just want you to think of the absolute first thing that pops into your head. Just focus on the first thing that pops into your head when I say it. If you're here live with us on Zoom and you want to type it into the chat or you want to come off mic and tell us what it is, great. If you're with us live on YouTube and you want to put it into the notes or the chat, by all means, put it there. But I want you to come up with a word or words, doesn't matter. Tell me what you think of when you hear the following word. Elephant. What do you think of? Write it down, put it out there. Here's what I'm going to tell you. 90+% of the people that hear this are going to say that they saw in their mind an image of a gray elephant, just like what Kristen just put in the chat. A gray elephant. Now, if I did this with 1,000 people, if I was on stage and had 5,000 people in front of me, and I did this live, the next question out of my mouth would be, who here saw the letters ELEPHANT? Nobody. Nobody is going to say that that's what they saw. That's just not the way the brain functions. The very first thing you thought was a picture. It was an image. It was something that your brain could recall and flash in front of you to remember. It might have been a picture of a gray elephant. It might have been a memory of the time that you rode an elephant at the zoo. It might have been a cartoon elephant. It might have been pink with purple polka dots or purple with pink polka dots. Doesn't matter. What you saw was what we would all look at and say, that's an elephant. If we know that, then what we need to understand is if that's the way the human brain functions, wouldn't it be great if the first thing we could do is provide them with an image and lock that image into their psyche, lock that into their memory so that it's top of mind all the time. Analogies do that. That's what analogies are all about. So use analogies, use metaphors, paint pictures with your words. Now, you don't want to paint every single, inch of the canvas, right? You want to give them enough that they can paint the rest themselves because they have to see themselves using your product or your service. They have to agree that it's going to help them. And if you paint out the full picture, they're not going to necessarily get there. You're going to give them the basics. You're going to give them enough that they understand the concept that they can apply. Not so much that you're painting everything in the picture for them, right? You've got to give them a little bit of space to be creative, to consider your product and your service inside their lifestyle, inside their business, right? So how do we do that? Well, brings us right back to the original question, doesn't it? In order to paint the right picture, you have to know who your audience is. You have to know who you're talking to. I might not have this exact same conversation with business owners that have been in business for 5, 10, 15 years. I might not have this conversation with business owners who aren't necessarily struggling with their lead generation or their lead conversion. Wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to have this conversation with those folks because they don't need the product or the service that this conversation lends itself to, right? But because I know that Fight for Your Business, these mastermind sessions that we do every day, free of charge, we know that these attract typically a younger or newer entrepreneur, somebody who's either just starting out or has been in business a couple of years, and they're frustrated because it's not going the way that they hoped it would. The reason for that's simple. They don't have the skill sets. That's fine. No problem. We can teach that really quickly. That's why I say that in 13 weeks' time, I can get you years ahead in your business. Work with me for 13 weeks, and we will put your business on the fast track. We'll break through those barriers, and we'll get you to the next level, and maybe even the one after that. Because I understand who I'm dealing with. And my services, my products, the problems I solve line up directly with that client. Now, if I was doing this on LinkedIn Live, might be something else. Might be something else. I might be promoting one-on-one coaching instead of group coaching. I might be promoting face-to-face, where I actually come out, travel to your site and hang out with you and your team. I don't offer that here because typically the folks that are here don't have a team. Some of them, many of them don't have an office outside of the house. So that's just not the right message. That's not the right problem to solve. But on LinkedIn, it might be. So maybe over there, I would do it a little bit differently. But you get the point. We can have multiple avatars. We just need to know which one we're speaking to at any one time. What I would tell you to do is get a fresh set of paper. Fresh set of paper?
Whatever.
Grab some clean paper, grab a notebook and a pen, and just start writing. What do you know about the perfect client for you? I wish Nikolai was a little bit more available right now because I'd love to talk to him about, his ideal client and, what he does for them and what he knows about them. But maybe he'll, when he's a little bit, when he's done with what he's got going on there, maybe we'll get a chance to talk to Nikolai. But think about your audience. Who are they? What do they want that they don't have? What do they have that they don't want? What do they need? What are they afraid of? And then we start getting into their personality. We start getting into, are they people that read a lot? Well, we may not know the answer to that question. That's fine. Let's go to the next question. Do they have a family? We may not know the answer to that. No problem. Let's go to the next question. Do they work outside of the home? Do they make X number of dollars or Y number of dollars? Are they professionals? Are they blue collar, white collar? Are they parents? What ages are their kids? Are they grandparents? Do they have investments? What value would they put on their home? If they were going to sell it today, what home value, what price range is their home in? Are they considering buying a new car or whatever else your product might be? Are they the decision maker? How are they going to make the decision? Who else is going to be involved in the decision? All of these things and about 150 more that are in the ICP workbook. Once we start to put that picture together, once we start to get the idea, okay, not every single customer is going to have every single one of these, and say that's accurate. But it's kind of like a horoscope. Have you ever read a horoscope or your daily, your weekly, your monthly, or just a generalization about your sun sign? I'm a Gemini, so I've read a lot about the Gemini personality. I don't know that I believe in horoscopes, right? That to me doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense. That we're just in this cycle where we're putting out, tons of twins. Gemini's the twins. We're putting out these dual personality people like myself. I find it hard to believe that we're doing that for 30 days and then all of a sudden we switch to a different type of person. I have a problem with that. But if you look at that horoscope and you read it, you're going to find that 80% of it talks about you. 80% of it's dead on. Now, it's usually the 80% that's pretty generic that could apply to anybody, right? So again, I don't mean to downplay, but I'm downplaying the principle of the horoscopes and sun signs. But the point is, they're able to get it right about 80% of the time because they understand enough about the people that are coming in, right? So we're going to do the same exact thing, only with more science and less horoscope, less prediction. So once we get to the point where we believe that our audience, our ideal customer is this person right here, and we've got as much information as we could get, and not only that, but we really truly understand them well. We know how to talk to them in order to get them to do, whatever it is that we need them to do to move them to the next stage of the funnel. We understand their comfort zone and what it looks like. We know what language we can use. We know what words we probably shouldn't use, what phrases we probably shouldn't use. We learn about their industry so we understand how to speak to them about their industry, if that's where our business offerings go. But once you've got that down and you agree, you know what, 80% of my ideal customers, or my ideal customers will have 80% of this, right? This is them in very, very large part. Once you've got that, then we can really start to have some fun. Because once you've got that, now you can visualize that person. And what I want you to be able to do, once you've identified that, once you've figured all of that out, I want you to think of somebody that you know incredibly well. Remember the story about my grandmother? Somebody that you know very well. You know how to talk to them. You know their likes and dislikes. You know their fears. You know their dreams. You know what they're trying to accomplish. You know their family history. I mean, you've got a pretty good overarching sense of who these people are. Once you've got that, and you can identify somebody that you know well that fits that piece, that fits that puzzle, I want you to name your avatar, name your ideal customer profile. Put that person's name at the top of it. Right? So, for example, if I said that, Nikolai is the absolute epitome of the perfect customer for me for one of my avatars, for my one-on-one training. Okay. On my one-on-one avatar, I would no longer call that my one-to-one avatar. I wouldn't call that my special avatar. I wouldn't call that my high-end avatar. I would call that Nikolai. I would call that Nikolai Ivanov, and I would have a picture of Nikolai on the top of that page so that every time I think about that avatar, I think about Nikolai. So now I don't have to go back in my memory banks and remember everything I need to know about all these different people. I need to remember, okay, if I talk to them, if I interact with them the way I would with Nikolai, I'm going to be 80% right. Off you go. Now you understand your avatar. If you're saying to yourself, well, Jay, that sounds great, but man, nobody I know, certainly nobody I know that well, fits that avatar. Nobody demonstrates that or presents as that ideal customer. Okay. Can you think of a fictional character? Can you think of a TV character, a book character, a movie character? Can you think of a famous person? It doesn't matter. Somebody in the zeitgeist, right? Somebody out there that everybody knows, that you know so well. Again, if you were to sit down and have a conversation with them, you know exactly what to say, how to say it, why to say it, when to say it, how hard to press, how easy that you need to go, and so forth. It's just another mnemonic, if you will. It's just another totem, right? I was talking to you guys yesterday about my battery. So, I almost dropped my battery. Hell of a catch. Chris, I'll come right to you. Hang on one second. Charles, good to see you. But I talked to you about my battery. It's about having something that reminds me of where I need to go. And if my avatar, if I decide, well, Nikolai is my one-on-one coaching avatar, and Charles Higgins is my group coaching avatar, then I'm going to create a different set of questions or a different set of answers. I'm going to put Charles Higgins at the top. I'm going to name that avatar Charles Higgins so that, again, Charles and I don't know each other super well, but we know each other well enough that I know how to speak to him. He and I have some things in common. We know where we would go with certain conversations. We know what we would do, how we would do it. And because of that, I can simply put his name and his picture up there. And the next time I'm in a room full of Charles Higgins, or the next time I'm in a room full of Nikolai Ivanov, I know exactly how to speak to them. Kristen, what you got?
After you saying this, it seems common sense, but I want to make sure that I am correct. So we need to know our avatar before we start planning our customer journey, obviously, before we start going through the funnel pieces and deciding what kind of line we're going to use on the fish and how we're going to reel them in and what kind of value and et cetera, so that it's all crafted from the very beginning to that individual.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yeah. I want to be careful when you say individual. Okay. It's not necessarily going to be crafted for every individual. It's going to be crafted
Right.
for your client, for your ideal prospect.
Right.
Yeah.
That avatar.
Yeah. Yeah. And listen, I mean, even if I put Charles and Nikolai and Kristen, let's use Kristen for another avatar. Okay. I've got all three of you as my avatars now. You know, there's very little likelihood because you are so different, and again, in this case, you would be much more different than you really are probably, but because there's such a difference from one to the next to the next, the chances of all three of you being in the same place at the same time is pretty random. I don't see it happening too often. So instead, I can go out there and search for a group of people that fit the Kristen demographic. And then I can go out there and I can find a bunch of people or a group of people, hopefully, that fit the Nikolai demographic. Now, when I'm in front of them, exactly right, Kristen, I can talk to them in language that's going to resonate with them. I'm going to talk to them using words that are going to motivate them. Well, how do I know what language is going to motivate them? Well, okay, let's imagine you're business to business. All right, we're not doing B2C right now. We're doing B2B. Imagine that your ideal customer is in a particular industry. All right, you work with people in this industry, whatever industry that is. Let's use an example. I'll use the medical field. It's the easiest one for me to do. Okay. Everybody's heard of the AMA, right? The American Medical Association. It's a professional trade association for people in the medical fields. And it's there to help them with ongoing education, problem resolution. I mean, all kinds of things. What do you need to know after you get your license to practice? Then what? Right? That's what the AMA is all about. They advocate on behalf of the industry. So if I know, for example, that I'm targeting people in the medical industry, I might want to become part of the AMA. I may want to join the AMA so that I can learn the language of the AMA, learn the language of doctors, of physicians, of specialists, of surgeons, whatever. Every single one of those organizations puts out some sort of, at least monthly, if not weekly, newsletter, magazine, whatever you want to call it. They're talking in incredibly specific terms to an incredibly specific audience. They know who their audience is. They know the impact that they're going to have. They know the language that their audience is going to use. They've spent so much more time than you have researching who their audience is. They're sending out surveys all the time and getting all kinds of great information about them. And because it's their trade association, not necessarily trying to sell them anything, they're going to answer the questions. And because they have those demographics, because they know all of those things, now they're able to design programming around the needs. If, for example, the medical profession starts talking about, oh, I don't know, new versions or new types of vaccines, right? We went through that about 2 years ago, 2.5, 3 years ago, didn't we? Where all of a sudden a medication, I just said the word. What's the word for the shot? What's it called? Immunization. Anyway, words get away from me sometimes. But it was created, this vaccine, there we go, that's what I was looking for. This vaccine was created incredibly quickly, and people were concerned. Well, has it been tested? What are the side effects? What's going to happen? Is it good? Is it bad? What's, all of these things. Well, if you follow the science, the vaccine is exactly what it's supposed to be. It does exactly what it's supposed to, and it doesn't do what it's not supposed to. There's not a lot of side effects. There's not a lot of implications. But a lot of people got confused because it was so damned quick. I think personally that they would have been far better suited, they being the authorities, right? The mayor, the governor, the president, would have been far more effective at getting people to take the vaccine if they would have started by talking to doctors about what's the hesitation. Well, people are freaking out about the fact that this medication came out so quickly, this vaccine came out so quickly. How are we going to overcome that? Well, let's let the industry experts tell us. I don't know what their answer might have been. I mean, I've got some ideas. But regardless, they would have an answer to the question. And I bet you anything, they're talking about it right now in their forums. I'll bet you anything at their conferences, this is a topic that they're discussing. I'll bet you anything that in their newsletter, they're writing articles about it. Okay, maybe not about this particular issue, but about whatever it is that's facing them currently today. You can learn not only what the issues are, and trust me, if the association is writing about them, it's an issue that affects them all, 80% of them at least. But not only can you find out what the issues are, you can also find out through surveys that they've conducted that they'll publish what the industry thinks, their opinion. And most importantly, and this is the kicker right here, the language they use to describe, to discuss it all. At one point in my career, I started in radio. I was in sales and sales management primarily. I was on air for about 6 minutes. But in radio, the largest group of advertisers, the advertisers that spend the most amount of money, the industry that spends the most amount of money is automotive. And so I wanted desperately to be able to sell to automotive clients. Problem was, these automotive clients speak a completely different language. I can't go in there and just start talking to them the same way that I would talk to another, small business about advertising on the radio. I had to come at them with a completely different mentality. Not knowing that, I tried and failed over and over and over again. I couldn't get any car dealers. I couldn't get any car manufacturers. I started doing some training. I left radio for a while. I spent 18 months selling cars. Not because I wanted to sell cars, not because I had any interest in selling cars, but because I wanted to help car dealerships sell cars. And if I was going to do that as their radio sales rep or or manager, I had to do it the way they wanted it done. I had to do it in their comfort zone because their comfort zone is the only one that matters. I had to get out of mine and get into theirs. So I left the radio world for 18 months and went and sold cars and learned their language, learned what they're up against, learned everything I could about the industry. I know terms that car dealers use that they don't use in front of customers. I know what the black book is. I know you guys know about the blue book. I know what the black book is, right? I know that every dealership in the country pays its bills from their fixed operations. I know what fixed operations are, right? I mean, again, we can go on and on and on, and I can talk to you in this language that isn't going to make a lot of sense to you unless I explain every detail. But I don't have to do that when I'm talking to them because this is their language. The same thing holds true with any of these trade associations. Kristen is in the magazine business. There are magazine trade journals, trade associations. Tracy's a florist. There are floral associations. Name it. I'm a coach. There are coaching associations. National Speakers Association for people that want to get up on stages and speak. If I watch them, if I listen to the language, I'm going to know exactly how to sell my client because they have more data than I ever could. Is that making sense? I want to try one other thing here. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it. Well, would you look at that? There she blows. All right. So I do personally a lot of work with chambers of commerce. I work with business owners all over the globe, right? I do this. I work one-on-one or in group settings with all kinds of business owners that are struggling to get to that next stage. But I built my career working exclusively with chambers of commerce and trade associations. And Kristen and I actually were talking just before we started the recording about a particular trade association. In this case, it is the Chamber of Commerce industry, and it is the Association of Chamber of Commerce Executives. Now, they've got a website, and on their website, they have a link to their magazine, Chamber Executive Magazine. Here it is. It's the fall 2023 issue, and here's all the things that are in there. So, all right, what's one thing I might do? I might come down here. Whoops, I may stop it. I may come down here and see Chamber Q&A. I wonder what that's all about. I'm seeking examples of strong regional partnerships, particularly those with unique structures. All right, well, that's something, if they put that in the magazine, don't you think that that's a current issue, something that needs to be looked at? Well, here's their answer. I've got an example from the Fargo Moorhead West Fargo Chamber Foundation and what they did. I can look at the language in here. Will bolster the region's economy by developing the skilled workforce needed to support the regional agriculture, manufacturing, and technology industries. I get it. I understand. It also talks about the Charleston Chamber Foundation right here in South Carolina. It also talks about another article that they wrote, and the Greater Cleveland Partnership, and the Oklahoma Biotech Innovation Cluster Initiative, and all of these others. I can learn a ton right here just from looking at the questions they're answering, the questions that are being asked, and the answers that they're giving. I've got to learn the language. Do you know of any chambers that run a structured cohort-based business training program to help existing small businesses grow revenue and increase customers? And here are some examples. Now, again, as a Chamber of Commerce professional or as a consultant in the Chamber of Commerce space, I might very well want to look at some of these and say, you know what? I have something to offer here. I help small businesses grow revenue and increase customers. So maybe I can get together with organizations like the York County Economic Alliance, which is also South Carolina, I believe. I think that's South Carolina's York County. The DC Chamber of Commerce and their Small Business Accelerator Program, the Paducah Chamber's Small Business Cohort Program, Pierce County's, I mean, on and on we go. Little Rock Regional, Worcester, Massachusetts, they've all got these programs. I could reach out to them, find out what they're doing, what they're offering, and then find a way to duplicate that and offer it to my clients, to my Chamber of Commerce connections. Are you aware of any chambers that successfully collaborated with their communities on the homelessness issue? Oh, well, this is right down my alley. This is me right here. My passion is to overcome childhood hunger and homelessness. So I want to get into these and listen to what they're doing and find out what it is that they're doing in trying to solve or collaborate on solving homelessness issues. But you get the point, right? All of these things are incredibly, incredibly important if I want to learn the language of my client. There's more. I could go to news. I could go to, Ask the Pros. I've been featured in there before. And I know some of these people. And again, all right, I'm back. Did you miss me? Let's go back to let's do a couple things. Let me fix my video first. Sorry, guys. And then let's go back to sharing our screen and talking about this cool story right here. Caitlin Pusateri. Now, I know that Einar Forsman was the president of the Rockford Chamber of Commerce in Rockford, Illinois. I happen to grow up in Rockford, Illinois. So I know Rockford. I know that chamber. I know some of the employees at that chamber. And I kind of knew Einar. Not real well, but he's retired. I didn't know who had replaced him. Well, guess what? Caitlin Pusateri. That's who replaced him. Now I know. And I know that because I'm inside their program. How's that going to help me? It's just more information so that I can talk to them about something very specific to them. Right? I can go through and see all of these awesome things that these people are saying. Do you stay in touch with members of your cohort? How valuable have those relationships been? Tell us about the work you're doing now. How has it evolved since your participation in the fellowship? I mean, again, I can just dig and dig and dig and dig for content. And this is only one issue and only one way that we can learn about it. You know, I can go here. And again, most associations, I'm showing you this because most associations are going to have these things. Oh, look, another buddy of mine. Talk about him in a minute. Juliet Abdo. I didn't know that. She used to be the president of the Westminster Chamber. Now she's moved on and she's become the Greater Topeka Chamber president. What can I do with that information? Well, real simple. I know Juliet. I'm going to reach out to her today. Congratulate her on her new job. And have a conversation with her about what she sees the needs in Topeka to be. So that maybe, just maybe, I can help fulfill some of those needs. Now, I don't know MetroQuest and I don't know Michael Gallup's. I do know the Rowlett Area Chamber of Commerce. But again, I can come through and see what people have moved on to what places. Here's another perfect example. The Frisco Chamber of Commerce in Frisco, Texas. I spent a lot of time in Frisco. And matter of fact, I don't know where it's at, but I have a President's Award from the president of the Frisco Chamber of Commerce, who was not at the time Crystal Howard, but awarding me for the work that I had done with his Chamber of Commerce. Well, now I know who's replaced him. So now I can go in and congratulate her for replacing Tony Felker. And oh, by the way, even if I didn't know Tony, I could see here that he retired after a 19-year career with the chamber. I have something else I could talk to her about. West Orange Chamber of Commerce in Florida. I know the West Orange Chamber. I don't know Stephen. And I didn't know Stina very well. But again, there she is. On and on and on we go. Here's a huge one. Wow, this is my buddy, Leonardo McClarty, who I've worked with in a couple of different places, is moving back to Georgia and taking over the Fayette Chamber of Commerce. I mean, again, how much more information do you want? How much more information do you need about who your audience might possibly be? They're all right here. All of this information is available to me on their website and typically free of charge. Now, what if I said, you know, well, but I'm working with younger people. All right, well, they just happen to have a 40 under 40. Let's just see who are some of these up and coming young people that I might want to talk to. Well, I can talk to Nicole Baptiste. I know the president of the chamber at the African American Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey. I could reach out to him and have him connect me to Nicole. But I've got all of these different people that I can reach out to, all for a different reason. And I can make sure that that reason fits my need, my skill set, my funnel. I mean, look at all of this. And this is, again, this is just one industry. But again, as we look at these things, we can see people are moving around and we can see people are being successful at whatever it is that they're doing, wherever it is they're doing it, and they're getting promoted and they're getting recognized. I can call every single, I know Allie. I can reach out to Allie right now and say, congratulations on your 40 under 40. That's awesome. It's not necessarily just about knowing them so well that you know their motivations. Sometimes it's simply about knowing exactly what's going on with exactly this one person. What if you don't know any of these people? What if, for example, I decided that I was going to do that young professionals training that somebody had asked for earlier? Well, I might come through here to my 40 under 40. I don't know most of these people. These people got into the industry long before I did, or long after I did. So I can go to these people and I can talk to them about the future. of the chamber industry. I could talk to them about potentially coming to work with them in their chambers. And I can utilize them as what I might call brand apostles or paladins, people who are going to be inside the building. These are not the presidents. These are not typically, these aren't the top people. Funny enough, Amber Batchelor is at the Sumter County Chamber of Commerce in Georgia, who took over after my good friend Chris, who ran that chamber for years and introduced me to the chamber industry in the first place. You see all these connections? All of this happens because of these organizations. And I'm just telling you, pick an organization, and I'm going to show you that we can find an organization inside that industry or whatever it might be that you're looking for. Well, what if we're talking about inclusive procurement? I don't even know what the hell that is. What are we talking about? An innovative pilot program in partnership with vendors, funders, and anchor institutions. Okay, well, I understand that a little bit. Inclusive procurement practices can drive prosperity, yet systemic barriers often prevent historically marginalized businesses. Oh, okay, so now I know who they're dealing with. If I'm in the DEI, the diversity, oh God, what's he? Diversity, equity, and inclusion space, this might be really important to know. Here's more information on how the chambers are providing that type of service. Bottom line, there are a million different ways that you can go about locating the information that you want about your ideal customer. But if you haven't spent any time trying to get to know them, don't think that they're going to spend any time trying to get to know you. They're not. They're just not. It's not the way it works. If you want them to be interested in you, you've got to take an interest in them. If you want them to be interested in what you offer, you have to be obviously well informed about what it is they offer so that you understand what their challenges about that are, what their problems are, what their obstacles are, what their strengths and weaknesses are, what their opportunities are. How do you find that out? Directly from them, directly from their industry. And again, I assure you, whatever industry you're in, there is an association for you, I promise. At least one, if not dozens. It's funny, I was wearing a, what do you call those? It's not a windbreaker, but like a pullover jacket that I had gotten as a gift when I was speaking for an organization in Dallas several years ago. And I didn't even think about it, but I was wearing this jacket. And I looked at myself in the mirror at one point and I noticed that I'm wearing a jacket that has their information on it, right? I'm promoting the PPAI. You guys are gonna love this. Promotional Products Association International. So, when you go to a conference and all the vendors have those cute little, plushed things or those squishy toys or those something, little tchotchkes that they're going to put in your bag that has their logo, their name, their phone number, their contact information, whatever. That's promotional products. And yes, PPAI is a massive, massive industry association with chapters all over the US, all over Canada, all over the world, really. And here I am walking around and had forgotten I was even doing it, but walking around wearing a PPAI pullover. The point is simply this. If I want to sell to a particular segment, I better know that segment inside out. And this is just a cheat code. That's all this is. This is just a cheat code that helps you get to the last level more quickly. You don't have to go through all of the boring, basic, goofy levels. You can jump right to the boss mode. You can jump right to that top level. And you can be unbelievably well equipped and well prepared to tackle that boss because you understand the industry. You understand what's troubling them globally. Now, when you're talking to somebody, you can say, I know that in the Chamber of Commerce, if I was talking to a chamber, well, let me change it. Let me change it. Tracy, can you speak for a second? Are you available? Tracy is not available. All right, no worries. I'll come back. Who's available? Scott, Kristen, Nikolai, anybody available?
I'm having trouble coming off the mic.
I'm at, so I can try.
What's that, Scott?
I don't have much service.
Oh, okay. So I'll go to Kristen. Kristen, what industry are you in?
Yeah, I'm in and out.
Okay.
I'm having audio issues.
No worries. I'll just go through the example rather than role playing it with you guys. But if I was going to target florists, let's say, right? Tracy is the #1 florist in Toronto, which is cool as hell. But she's won the award from the newspaper like what 3 years in a row now. I mean, the best florist in the entire. What do you call those? In Toronto, in the city. That's pretty damn cool. But if I want to talk to florists, I better know a problem that most florists have. And if I can identify that problem and my solution will solve that problem, then I'm going to be in great shape and I'm going to have a phenomenal word track, right? I'm going to know all the language to use. So if I go in and I'm talking to a florist and my conversation is, I have a magazine and you can advertise in the magazine and it's going to cost you this much money. And, this is how many people are going to see it. Okay. That sales pitch may work occasionally. And some of you pitch like that or have pitched like that or have seen people pitch you like that. And sometimes it works if they really wanted the product or the service in the first place. They weren't convinced, they weren't brought in, but for whatever reason, they decided, yeah, I'm good with this. This is what I'm interested in. All right, cool. Or I could say, and I'm making this up, this may not be the case, or I could say, so, Kristen, listen, as a florist, I'm sure that you're struggling with the same thing that a lot of florists are in finding sustainable ways to source your flowers. She would understand that instantly. Well, I should have been doing this with Tracy, sorry. Tracy would understand that instantly because that is an issue. And oh, by the way, it's one that she happens to be passionate about. Now, I didn't know that going in potentially, but the fact that I've mentioned it gives her the ability now to jump in and say, oh yeah, that is incredibly important. Let me tell you why. Now I've got her selling herself. She's telling me exactly what the problem is. And if my solution solves it, all I have to do is present it. Am I going to close at 50% that way? No. I'm going to close higher. I'm going to close higher because I'm speaking their language and I understand the problems they have. They look at me as an insider, not an infiltrator. That's important. They look at me as a team member, not as a threat. I come to them as a consultant. I'm here to give you the help. I'm an expert in the industry. I help organizations just like yours to get ahead in the industry. And I've proven it because the first words out of my mouth got her engaged. The first words out of my mouth were true value to her. Right? I didn't provide the value necessarily. I provided her a content or a topic that she can now talk about, and we're building this relationship. And little by little, I'm learning more and more and more about Tracy independently, which is going to help me when it comes time to try and close. The same thing could be said about the automotive industry. I could just as easily have used that industry and said, okay, so I go into Nikolai's car dealership and, I work for 6 months, but I finally get a meeting with Nikolai. And during the meeting, I tell him, Nikolai, I got to tell you, I love working with the automotive industry. In fact, I was at the NADA conference in Orlando and in Houston back in the 2000s and went to a training in Houston for the automotive industry in radio. So I really love this industry, but so much so that I actually left radio for a while, for 18 months, and sold cars. Oh, I wanted to see what it was like. I wanted to experience it myself. And I've learned so much about the industry. I wonder, are you guys dealing with this issue? Whatever the issue is that I know for a fact is current in the automotive industry, right? Maybe it's recalls. Maybe it's bad publicity because there's a ton of recalls. And you guys have seen major automotive recalls lately, right? So if I went to Nikolai, and Nikolai is let's say a Hyundai dealer, and Hyundai has had a lot of I just said the word again, recalls. Wait, I know now that if I have a solution to that, he's going to listen to me. Well, Nikolai, look, I wonder what's going on, in the marketplace. Does anybody care about the recalls, or is that really just not a big issue? I know it's a big issue, but he needs to tell me, and he needs to know that I'm asking the right questions, that I understand his industry. I'm not just coming in and doing the old, hey, well, we can sell you 800, commercials for $1 a piece, and you're going to get more than anybody else, and blah, 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 blah. That's not the value. It just isn't. You have to provide the value. The value comes from you. So when I explain to him that I know his industry well enough to have a conversation with him in a way that no other sales rep ever has, I go to the top of the list automatically. I'm his go-to guy now because he knows I understand the industry. He needs a commercial written really quickly, and his agency doesn't have time for whatever reason. They've got an urgent issue. There's a tornado that hit that town, and I mean, whatever. He calls me and says, "Hey Jay, can you write this ad for me?" It's happened. When I met the guy, he wasn't advertising on our radio station. He was advertising on every radio station except mine. There are reasons for that. I convinced him those reasons were stupid, and we moved on, and we put him on our air. And I multiplied that. I did that over and over and over again. It was easy to get them on the air because I knew what they coveted, right? I know the internal workings. I know that what they're trying to promote, car dealers in general, they're trying to get people on a lot. What they really want to sell is not necessarily that new car. They want to sell the used car because that's where they make all the money. New cars, big deal. They make all their money in fixed operations, right? That's how they pay the bills. Their parts department, their repair department, service department, whatever you want to call it, those things, fixed operations, that's where they make their money. Profit comes from new cars and used cars, and obviously used cars more than new cars typically, because there's more markup available. There's not rebates available. Nobody knows the real value of that used car typically when they come in. So they can do some things. They can manipulate the sale a little bit in ways that they end up making a whole lot more money simply because of what they're doing. Now, knowing that, I can go in and say, listen, my radio stations, the 2 radio stations that I represent, cater to people of color, particularly women. But depending on the age, one's listening to this station, one's listening to the other station. But they are particularly African American for the older station, Hispanic, and like more of a mix, but more Hispanic than anything else on the younger station, hip hop, R&B type stuff. I could go through there and explain to them why it was so important to get those people on their lots. Now you can imagine when I moved to South Carolina back in 2006, I'm dealing with a lot of old, white, conservative, Southern Baptists. You can make whatever implication you want there. I'm just going to tell you there was a reason that none of them were advertising on these 2 radio stations that serve people of color. No salesperson in their right mind was going to go in there and try and sell them on this concept because they didn't understand the value that this audience brought, the solution to the problem. What's the problem the dealership has? It wants to make more money. How's it going to make more money? It needs to sell more used cars. How are we going to sell used cars? Well, guess what? I've got an audience that buys cars. They buy a lot of cars. They don't buy high-end cars necessarily as often as other audiences do. I'm talking about my older group right now. But they've got money and they're buying nice, newer pre-owned vehicles. And you've got a bunch of them on the lot right now. My audience would come in and snag those instantly. When I can convince them that, and they stop seeing black and brown, and they start seeing green, well, money's green, but so are stop lights or go lights, I guess. And it was all full steam ahead at that point. Let's go. Here's $18,000 a month. Go put us on your radio station. Okay. I'll take that at 22% commission. Sure. Over and over again. Again, I'm not the best salesperson in the world. There are better salespeople in this town. There are better salespeople in the radio industry in this town. None of them could get those clients on these stations. Not because I'm so good at selling, but because I'm so good at understanding people and industries, understanding the tribes, right? The car dealers are a tribe all of their own. They have their own language. They have their own mentality. They have, I mean, it's pretty crazy. But they got it. And they want to stick around with people who understand their language, with people who they think, you know, I get it, with people who are asking them intelligent questions instead of stupid questions. You ever had an interaction with a salesperson where you thought, are you serious? That's really what you're asking me right now? Who's had it happen to them? Where you're speaking to a salesperson who is maybe they're monopolizing the conversation and not letting you talk at all. Maybe they're not asking you any questions about what you need. Maybe they don't want to know anything about your industry and they're not asking questions about it either. They're just talking about their rate card or their special program or their special package that they put together for you. Okay. I went in and said, listen, I'm not going to show you any packages because advertising, marketing in general, it's not one size fits all. I know a lot about your industry. I need to know a lot more about you. And then I'm going to build a proposal that has you in mind, your business in mind. I'm not going to try and push you into one of these 2 or 3 cookie cutter platforms, packages. I'll build something specific for you based on your needs. Let's talk about those needs. And now I'm asking even better questions. I'm asking more intense, more interesting, more intelligent questions than any salesperson ever has before. They're used to the old style salesperson coming in with their pitch deck. I don't walk in with a pitch deck. I may walk in with a pad of paper and a pen. That's it. I don't bring a business card with me. I don't bring a business card with me because I don't need to have a business card. It's not relevant. If you want my business card, it's because you want me to leave. And, oh, well, if I need anything, I'll call you. That's why you want my business card. If we're going to do business, you know it, and you're not going to need my business card. I'm going to have your phone number. You're going to have mine. We're going to be emailing each other back and forth. We're going to be texting each other back and forth. I mean, we're going to be in constant communication. I mean, I'll give you a card if you want one. I'll just have to bring it next time, so I bring it with me. It just wasn't important to me. This conversation was important to me. Learning about you was important to me. Telling you about me, we'll have time for that. I need to learn more about you so that I know that what I'm putting together for you is for you. is going to solve your problem. Easiest way in the world to get people to like you is to get them answering questions about themselves. What do you do? Are you struggling with this? What do you think about that? How is that impacting your business? I've said it probably 100 times, and I don't know that it's ever sunk in, but hopefully today it will. He or she who asks the best questions wins. He or she who asks the best questions sells the most. He or she who asks the best questions gets paid infinitely more. How do you know the questions to ask? Well, number one, you already know the answers to them. I don't ask too many questions that I can't already answer, that I don't already know the answer to, at least, 80%. There's that 80-20 rule again. Pesky little bugger. But I ask questions I know the answers to. They don't know that I know the answer, or maybe they do. Doesn't really matter to me. I want them to think, wow, nobody's ever asked me that before. It's a great question. Wow, you really do understand the industry. It's a great question. Let me tell you my opinion. They don't care about my opinion. They care about theirs. They don't care about what I have to say or what I have to offer unless it's what they want, what they need. And I'm not going to find that out by asking stupid questions. And I'm not going to find that out by not asking questions, by just charging ahead with a rate card and a presentation book. That's the salespeople that everybody hates. That's why I want you guys to stop seeing yourselves as salespeople and remember that what you really are is a highly paid consultant. You're a highly paid consultant, whether you know it or not. Or you can be if you choose to be. Consultants are going to study. Consultants are going to learn everything about the industries they serve. Consultants are going to know what questions to ask because they already know what issues the industry is currently dealing with. And when you ask those questions, when you prove yourself to be a valuable asset, a consultant, their instinct is no longer, okay, this guy's trying to take me for every penny he can. Let me just, work my budget down, 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 down. Now what they're doing is they're throwing more problems at you and saying, can you help me solve this one? The more problems they give me, the better. Because the different solutions that I'm going to need to solve all of those problems all cost different money. And now, rather than getting them to pay me once, I'm getting them to pay me twice, 3 times, 5 times, 10 times. Because I'm asking questions, not just snapping the hook, not just snapping the line. I'm asking questions. I'm reeling that out. I'm giving them more line so they can bite that hook, take it down their throat. I know it's a gross image, but really, truly have them on the hook. To me, it's an incredibly simple analogy, simple metaphor. If it sticks with you, then it worked. If you forget about this tonight, if we leave this session here in 10 minutes and you go about business the way you've always gone about business, you don't implement any of this, you don't do anything with it, well, okay, what do you think's going to happen? Do me a favor real quick. I just want to play this out, right? And this is for all of you watching on YouTube, all of you watching on the live Zoom, no matter where you are. I want you for a second to think about where you want your business to be in 6 months. Just picture it for a second. Picture your day-to-day routine. Picture your bank account. When you get there, When you get to that point, when you can see it, smell it, taste it, you know what it looks like. Ask yourself, do I really want that? And if you said anything other than, well, of course I do, obviously, it might be time to find something new to do. But if you said, obviously, no doubt, of course I do, then take it upon yourself to take action, immediate, instant, and important, efficient action. What does that mean? Well, let's think about it again. Have you gotten value out of the last, what, hour and a half? Has this been helpful to you? If you're still here at this point, if you're still watching at this point, I have to believe that you got value, right? I'm asking a question I already know the answer to. You wouldn't be here if you weren't receiving value. So we know that I'm giving you advice that you value. Now, what's going to happen, Nikolai, when we get off this call in 10 minutes and you've got a list of 3 things that you want to implement that we talked about, but some sort of a fire pops up in your business, some sort of an obstacle, some sort of an emergency, something that is just a distraction is going to happen, because you know it is, right? Don't distractions happen to all of us when we're in the middle of something important and something else pops up and we take our focus away? So Nikolai, what's going to happen? You've written down notes. By the way, all of you do this. Take a look at the notes that you've been keeping. If you're keeping notes, how many ideas are there on that pad of paper that you want to implement today? How many of those things that you found valuable are you willing to put into action? 1, 2, 3. What's going to happen when we end this call in 8 minutes and you go back to your daily life, you go back to your regular routine? You and I both know that those 1, 2, 3 different things that you said right now, yes, they're important. Yes, I want that dream. Yes, I know I've got to do this to get there. Yes, you just made it incredibly easy for me to do. Yes, I see the value in that recommendation. And then you walk away and do nothing. You walk away and do nothing. Okay, you're not going to go do nothing, but you're not going to be productive. And you're not going to do this. You're not going to do those things. So I'm going to ask you this question, and I'd love to hear your answers. If you want to put them in the chat, go right ahead. But I'm going to ask you, how are you going to stay focused today long enough to start implementing what you've written down in your notes from today's class, from today's mastermind? What are you going to do? What's going to anchor action? What's going to insist that you get something done right now today? What's going to make this so important for you that you refuse not to do this today? That nothing is going to get in your way. No obstacle is going to get in my way. There's nothing on my plate today that's more important than getting this done. What's going to stop you from that? Or what's going to start that process? What's going to get you to there? We have to be aware. Self-awareness is massive. Being aware of everybody else's industry is great, but you've got to be aware of yourself. And if you know you're a great note taker, you're a great idea person, but man, you don't follow through for jack. By the way, I'm not judging. I'm a great idea person. I need my assistants. I need helpers. I need my team to be able to accomplish the things that I want to get done. A, there's too many of them. B, I'm not an expert in most of them. So the reality is, I make sure that I understand who I am. I understand that if I want something done, the minute I think about it, I send a text message to whoever I'm delegating it to. If it's something I've got to do myself, I send a message to myself. I go on Facebook Messenger and I send myself a note to remind myself of what I want to do. Or I tell my smart speaker if I'm, if I'm not out of the house. I tell it so it'll remind me so that I go back to it when it's important. And I tell it when to remind me because I know when I'm going to be able to deal with that. I know when I'm going to be able to take action on that. Well, I'm busy for the next 3 hours. So, okay, you know what? The smart speaker, remind me in 4 hours that I wanted to do this. And insist on it getting done. It's very difficult to get people to do something that they won't do themselves. Or, excuse me, let me rephrase that. Sorry. It's very difficult to get somebody to do something that you won't do yourself. Right? I can't tell you to market your business smarter and then be out here doing dumb stuff. I can't be out here wasting time when I'm telling you don't waste time. I can't be out here not taking action, being passive when I'm telling you to be aggressive. Get your name out there. Get your face out there. Get your story out there. Get your why. Get your the problem that you solve, your solution out there, your message out there. But do it in language that the people who are most likely to buy, who are most likely to be your loyal customers, understand, appreciate, and think to themselves, you know what? This person really gets it. You know what happens when they think that? This person really gets it. Wow, this is a professional. Wow, they're really good. Right? That makes them higher in our estimation. That puts them, from a judgment standpoint, it puts them up above. It's a separator. And we want to separate from the masses. I don't want to be just like every salesperson. I don't want to be like every, coach out there. Most coaches out there are broke because they don't know how to market themselves. They don't know how to promote themselves. They don't know how to deliver value. They don't know what value to deliver. They don't know how to put together a customer journey. They don't know how to, they don't, maybe they know it, but they don't do it. And if you don't do it, you can't get the benefit from it. So I want at every opportunity to showcase that I'm not your typical business consultant, typical business coach. I'm the guy that's going to shoot straight. Tough love is a thing. And if you need to hear tough love, if you need to hear you're wrong and here's how or here's why, but let's fix it. If that kind of mentality makes sense to you, then I want to talk to you. I'm not for everyone. Neither are you. My way doesn't work for everybody. My mentality, my methodology, my language, my skill set, my communication skills don't resonate with everybody. But if they resonate with you, reach out and tell me so. I don't know how I can help. I don't know if I can help. But I would love to have a conversation with you and find out. Real easy to do. Before we close it out, I want you to do a couple things. Right down below, you'll see the subscribe button. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you get this content on a regular basis. You find value in it. You found value today. I promise you, you'll find value tomorrow. And if you don't, end your subscription. Just unsubscribe. But I'm going to provide this kind of value to you every single weekday, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern time, New York time for those of you outside the US. So here's what I need. I need your help. And I'm willing to admit it. My business is going to grow with or without your help, but it's going to grow much more quickly, much more efficiently. It's going to be accelerated with your help. So click the subscribe button. That's number one. Give this video a like, a comment, and a share. Not one or the other, all four of those things. Subscribe, like, comment, share. Done. 30 seconds worth of effort in exchange for 2 hours worth of content. I think that's a fair ask. I hope that's a fair ask. I'm going to go look and see what's been shared when we shut this down here in a minute. And I'll look again tomorrow for those of you who are watching the YouTube on replay. But that's what it's going to take for you to help me continue to grow my business, which is going to continue to give me the opportunity to be here every single day. I hope that this has been the best session you've ever been in. If it is, please let me know. If it's not, please let me know. What else do you want to know? What else do you want to learn about? What do you want to hear about? What are you struggling with? You can reach out to me. Email is easy, j@coachjhandler.com. Spell out J both times, J-A-Y. j@coachjhandler.com is my email. You can send me a private message. DM me. Send me a message on YouTube. Send, down below in the chat. Go to the description of this video and you'll find a link to my calendar. You can schedule a time for us to chat. My treat. It would be an honor to invest 30 minutes in you and your business. It really would. I'd love to do it. Love to get to know you a little bit better. But the link's right there down below in the description. There's another link for the live sessions on Zoom. You can join that Zoom session just like the YouTube session, and you can be on camera with me. You can ask me questions. I can answer you directly. We can work one-on-one with you, just like we did a little bit today with Kristen, with Tracy, with Nikolai, and even with Charles a little bit. Understand, building your business takes guts. It takes somebody indestructible. It takes fearlessness. It takes a lion. And like I always say, everybody wants to be a lion until it's time to do lion shit. Well, this is it right here. This is the stuff that lions do. Be a good partner. Be a good collaborator. Subscribe, like, comment, share. Tell people in your share why they should watch the video. What are they going to get out of it? And come back tomorrow for another mastermind session in the Fight for Your Business group. Guys, I appreciate you. I love you. I respect you. I need you just as much as you need me, I promise you. If there's anything that I can do to support you, your efforts, your business, don't worry about money. We'll talk about that at another time. Maybe it's not going to cost you a penny. You want to get on a 30-minute call? Free of charge. My treat. Let's talk. Let's just solve a problem. See if I can deliver value. And maybe, just maybe, you decide that your team would be better with me on it than without me. And we'll talk about what that would look like. But we'll do that another time. I wish you all the best of Thursdays. For those of you that are members of the hybrid coaching program, my Acceleration Academy, for Tracy, for Kristen, and for several of the people who have been here earlier and had to take off, looking forward to tonight. We've got our group session this evening. Can't wait to chat with you about that. And I will see those of you that are joining us for that session tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern. By the way, if you're watching this as a replay and you would like an invite to come sit in on a live session with us in the Acceleration Academy, shoot me a private message and let me know. I'd be happy to offer it to you. You can join us tonight or any Thursday night. Just reach out and let me know. I'd be happy to have you join us. Be a pleasure. And introduce you to the folks that we're working with, to this community, the Fight for Your Business community. And with that, I will bid you all a wonderful afternoon. Please remember, if you need anything, I'm right here and happy to help in any way that I can. Go do something special for somebody who needs it. Take time out of your day to do something important for somebody else. They mean something. They mean something to somebody. And we can all help each other. Just like I hope I'm helping you, I hope you'll help others to have a great Thursday, a great week, a great month, a great year. And I'll see you either tonight or tomorrow morning right back here in the Fight for Your Business Mastermind sessions. I'm Jay Handler.